Hey folks, your favorite disgruntled dad coming back to you. I wanted to hit to you today something about fixing your life if it sucks. And why I think this is so important is because the fact that I've had so many people, some have requested advice, some I just stumbled to because of some conversation we're having, and you can kind of tell they're not, oh, how would I put that? They're not really doing anything. And there's a lot of them that are just dudes. Some females. There are a few females. In fact, I talked to a young lady today, 39 years old, a little bit older than me, and it's one of those things where, okay, I see you're certainly not less experienced in life than me, but we've had some very different paths we've taken, and that leads to things where I have kids, you don't, so you just haven't had certain experiences, and we have dramatically different values because of that. And I've exposed myself to a ton of different value systems and beliefs, and this young lady has not. I mean, I shouldn't say that as a definitive statement, but based on our conversation, she tends to stay within a small circle of people that she shares a very small common set of beliefs with. And it's not to be demeaning whatsoever. I don't mean she has small beliefs, but we certainly differ in beliefs. But anyway, I don't want to get too down a rabbit hole in that. But man, people don't stop to think about what is a purpose in life. And I don't want to get real philosophical today. That's not my intent here. But take a moment and think about that. It's really important. But the most important thing I want you to walk away from this with, if you're unhappy with your current place in life, fix it. Nobody else is going to fix it. And this goes back to the statement you'll hear from a lot of very successful people, Navy SEALs, uh, all the hyper machismo type that are finding major success. They say, tell me your worst possible thing that ever happened. Great. Think about it. Sit on it for a minute. Great. No one cares. Go work. And flat out, that's all it is. And it's not that people don't care, but it is they don't care because they have their own lives to live. So it's not that they actively don't care about you or your situation, but they have their own life. They have their own kids. They have their own car that just broke down. They have a house that an oak tree just fell on the roof of. I mean, life happens. It's kind of like, when people pass away. And it's something, it was kind of screwed up that my dad told me when I was 7, 8 years old, maybe 9, I don't know. Somewhere in that range, though. And I don't know, I was typical moron kid, and I just had a bad attitude, and I was, you know, small kid with screwed up family stuff. And I said, I'm just going to go kill myself. And he said, well, here's an extension cord. Good luck. I said, huh, you don't care. That's not the reaction I was looking for. I was looking for some pity. You didn't want to give me pity. You gave me an extension cord. Well, that taught me pretty quick. All right, this is not an effective technique to use. And I didn't do it again. And that was probably it was obviously for the best. It was probably a good strategy on his part, but it was still kind of screwed up. But looking back, I can't think of a better response because you can't feed into that sort of behavior. Then I would have always been doing something like that to get attention. But afterwards, he said, people die all the time, and you know what happens? The world keeps moving. And I'll tell you, that sits with me to this day. Obviously, I'm bringing it up now. But this guy's really good with death as well. Every single death that has happened in our family, he has a just incredibly profound statement at the right time to deliver. And it's weird because he's not good at saying anything else. He has his own opinions. They're right. Yours are wrong. That's all there is to it. But this one area of life, he is just spectacular at. I don't know. Weird. So, I don't know where I'm going with that other than your life matters, but it only matters to you. It sure matters somewhat to other people. They're happy to have you, but their own life will always matter more than yours. And, you've got your kids and stuff like that. That's where it gets a little cloudy. But point being, nobody cares but you. And it's something we say a lot of times in the military. No one cares about your career more than you. No one will do more for your career than you. And if you've ever done any mentorship with somebody, you also understand You can't care more about their success than they do. You can't put more into it than they do. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that need to take the action. And so this really hits the core of the reason I started the Disgruntled Dad, because I meet so many young people, and sometimes even my same age, even a little bit older, that just completely without direction. They've just never taken the time to explore or get some different experiences. And then we start talking, man, I just don't know what to do. Well, I'm not an expert. Please don't act on this advice necessarily, but please consider it. If it makes sense, then act on it. And I maintain that disclaimer with everybody anywhere. I have some thoughts. They might be wrong, they might be right, but please consider them. And most of the time it's just, do you even know what's wrong? Or are you just bored? Are you just sad? Are you just, you're just in a rut? Is there something clearly wrong where you can put your finger on it and say, this thing right here sucks? And please don't tell me it's the news. If you're watching news, man, just turn it off now, because it's garbage. It is destroying your brain. And I enjoy watching a few episodes of the Hodge Twins, much as the next guy, or some Tim Pool on Timcast. But you got to do something. Another thing is, what are you actually doing with your life? So we'll get a little bit more into that later, but the things you're spending most of your time on are the things that are most important to you. So if you're spending most of your time on video games or watching TV or YouTube or what have you, that's most important to you. And you can argue all you want, but your actions show different. So your actions need to line up with the things that are legitimately important to you. If they're not lining up, you better reassess your life. But we're seeing this weird cultural shift here where so many young people are becoming super nihilistic. I don't understand it. It does not make any sense. Why? How can you sit there and say nothing matters? Plant a tree. You'll see something matters. It wouldn't have been there if you hadn't planted it there. Please don't have children if you're in that mind space. But get a pet. Start with a fish. That dies, no one's super upset. It goes right down the toilet bowl. But, find something to give you some purpose in life. Go out and build something. Start with a dog house. And this is why people in the trades are generally happier. They're not necessarily more wealthy, though some of them are very wealthy. There was a video I saw. Man, I'm trying to think of who it was. Oh, it was the Hodge twins, actually, yeah. And so there was just swole black dude. He was a plumber. I think he was from New York. I don't remember where he was from. I mean, just dude's jacked. And it's on some dating show where all these women are popping their balloons if they're not interested. And one of them, she pops her balloon. They start making her way over to her. And then another one pops her balloon. And they go to her. And he starts reading her the riot act, telling her all the reasons he's not interested in her. And then he makes the third one. He's like, my eyes are up here. Look at my eyes. If you're trying to imply something, I'm looking at all the hair in your arms. And he just finds something to throw at this woman. Because, I mean, all right, if you want to be disrespecting the man, then you should expect something to come back. You're lucky he didn't just walk away. Maybe prefer that. But he's on the show, so he has to be there to a certain extent, or he doesn't get paid. And why go on a TV show if you don't want to get paid? Anyway, it was hilarious. And dude's one of his final statements is, not one of y'all can go to your bank account and pull out $100,000. Because you know what? As a licensed plumber, you are a very rare breed. There are very few people. And it's just because of the stupid licensing crap. But also, most people don't even want to take the risk of playing with human feces. Because you know what goes through sewer lines is crap. And who can deal with a plumbing line that has crap in it but a licensed plumber? Because of that, though, you can charge a lot of money. Because nobody wants to handle crap. Nobody wants to cut through the wall and mess with their plumbing. And there's rarely a problem with your plumbing lines as far as the sewage. Typically, it's going to be a fresh water, but it happens. It absolutely happens. So, anyway, point being, even that plumber, in his crappiest day, both literally and figuratively, he made good money. And at the end of the day, he can walk away and say, I accomplished something. Versus most of these freaking office jobs that have by far the highest rate of depression and just people hating their life, all the anxiety, all the mental health issues around these stupid office jobs. Because most of the time, you're not accomplishing anything. They're just like the federal government. There are so many people in every one of these offices across, I don't care which department you want to look at, DOD, DHS, FBI, I mean, just all of them, DMV. And those are state level even, but there's just so many stinking people. They'll show up at work. I was talking to a young man today, actually. Hey, man, I know why you feel bad. You show up to work every single day and you realize we're not accomplishing anything. Well, I'm not doing the stuff I was trained to do. Oh, I know, because they're shoving so many people into this system that they need to ensure that if 3 of you out of 100 show up, all the stuff continues to go at least okay. Not necessarily quite at the same speed, maybe a little slower, but they need to make sure it's still going. And that's why you hate it, because there are 150 of you that really only need about 5. But because there's so many people, they can't give you a clear direction on what to do because there's not enough work. So you sit there watching YouTube, and I'm not even mad at you for it because there's nothing to do. You can't quit because you're in a contract. You can't get fired because you're in a contract. You get in some trouble and your life can become a little difficult. And this young man's in the military, obviously, but he's just stuck. And he's depressed because this is worthless. There is zero fulfillment because there's almost no work. And he might be able to find a few minutes of work, and he's also in this mindset of, but I was trained to do this very specific task, skill set, and there's not really anything to do in a skill set. I have to learn a whole different skill set to even look for something to possibly do. And then if I find that thing, then I can do this skill that I've actually been trained to do, get better at it, and produce a product that actually shows a thing being done and provides some value to the world. And all that to say, that's most office jobs. You're not producing anything of any real value. So you hate it. You hate your life. You hate the job. It just sucks all around. And no wonder you're upset with yourself. No wonder you're upset with your life because you're not doing anything meaningful. So go be a plumber. Go swing a hammer, build a doghouse, start building bird houses. Do anything where you're actually creating something. I don't care if you put them on Craigslist. I don't care if you give them away, some Facebook marketplace, but do a thing where you're creating a thing and then give the thing or sell the thing to another person. And whether or not it's in exchange for money or not is almost irrelevant. But the point being, you've accomplished a task that required some level of effort, precision, and training from you. And if they suck for the first 5 months, great. That's part of the training curve. But eventually you need to get better. And you will, because you're going to practice. You'll eventually start to notice little cracks in your trim around your house. Say, whoever put in this trim didn't do a very good job. Or that wall's not flat. That trim is really bowed. Or they put painter's caulk on this trim and that's yellowing. And I need to put a bathroom caulk so it doesn't yellow. Or you'll see cracks in your drywall. I wonder what that's from. Is it shifting? Oh no, they just didn't put any joint compound behind the tape. Things like that. Whatever it is you're working on, you'll notice those little things in that skill set and say, I could improve this a little bit if I use a different type of nail, if I drill a countersink hole for my screw before I put these two pieces of wood together, I don't get it to split, or I can then cover it up with some putty, or I don't do fine woodworking, so I don't know much about that. But point being, whatever it is you're doing, you'll start to see other things that you can improve on, and that will bring you fulfillment. That will make you happier. And this young man, he's super into guns. Super into guns. I mean, I just don't care them. I mean, I like guns, but I just don't care. Not a big gun guy. Again, like them, don't love them. So I don't have all the details, but this guy can really nerd out. Another thing he's really into is video games. And he's a little bit into his religion, but that's not a big thing. It does kind of change his view of the world a little bit, which I think would be really interesting, at least here in the West, because he's Islamic. And so he has a different view on things that here in the West we don't have. And so I think that would be a super cool thing for him to throw into his videos. Just that different perspective. Maybe it's not, though. I don't know. But videos he wants to create are gaming. All right, man. Well, everybody has a streaming channel. But some people do watch that stuff, from my understanding, for the commentary. I mean, heck, if people watch Gary Vaynerchuk just blabbering on about whatever silently, that's why it's whatever, because it's silently on a Twitch channel where he doesn't even turn on the microphone most of the time. People listen to you talk about some topic while you're playing a video game. I assure you, you will find some people that are super interested in that. Whether or not it's a big enough market segment, I don't really know. It seems, I don't know. I don't know anything about that industry, so maybe I'm totally wrong, but it seems played out to me. But and then again, I also don't like video games, so wrong guy to talk to on those specifics. But I, we talked a little bit though. And I said, all right, man, well, and so how this came about, I ran across him in a parking lot. I was parking, and I saw him walking towards some other building. Hey, I won't say his name, but he walked by. Oh, I haven't seen you in. I mean, it's probably been a year and a half, 2 years. Hey, bro, you still got my phone number? You can always give me a call. Yeah, man, I'm really struggling to keep in touch with people I used to know. The grass isn't greener. And he went into a different unit. I completely left active duty Air Force. So, yeah, it's just the grass isn't always greener. It's really tough over here, and this is where we got into talking to the lack of fulfillment and stuff. Well, what are you doing to improve that? Oh, like, no, I get it. And this is, again, back in that, I know you're feeling terrible. I have been in that position. The depression, the anxiety, the just feeling like it doesn't freaking matter. And I said, well, yeah, I know, I need to do something. I'm not really doing anything. Well, what do you want to do? What is your goal? And he starts, well, I need to pursue this thing in my career field because that makes the most sense. No. What do you want to do? Well, it's super unrealistic. That's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about what's realistic and not. What do you want to do? And then share with them some wisdom that I got from Jack Spearco in the Survival Podcast, actually, which is don't worry about what you can or can't do. Focus on what you want to do and then focus how you can make that thing happen. And that is the most profound mind shift anybody can make in their life. And figuring out what it is you want is typically the biggest challenge. That's something I go through on a recurring basis. Big life things happen, and I thought I wanted that, but I don't want that anymore. I want something very different. And we all have different struggles. I mean, that's my struggle. And I still find cool stuff along the way. Everything you jump into is a learning experience. And it's where I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. Take those micro challenges, micro risks, because then you have micro failures. Don't take such a big risk that you're putting your whole house in a second mortgage, and if it fails, the family's going to be moving into a cardboard box. That's crazy. But smaller things, I mean, biggest one I've taken is like a $15,000 risk on a restaurant. I was in Hawaii, and that fell apart. That did not feel good. But I did learn a whole bunch about it and know that I never want to open a restaurant. That is a losing game as far as I'm concerned, and from my experience and my doll hairs that I lost. But that was, it took a while to claw my way back from that kind of loss. But point being, I mean, these things, and that's not big money for most people. For me at that point, that was years of savings. I mean, yeah, it sucked. But take risks, you lose. My kids were not homeless. I still had a place to go at night. My family, we didn't have to move out of our house, which that's a big one. We clearly wasn't that huge of a risk because we didn't have to move out of our house. But we cut back on food quite a bit. And we weren't going out to eat, I'll tell you that. But all that to say, take risks, try new things. You have no idea what you want to do, what you like to do, and what is meaningful to you to set for that long-term goal. Let's try different things. This is a young lady whose name I won't mention, but recently she was looking at getting out of the military, actually. A lot of military theme here. But I said, hey, you're really diving into this teacher training. You have like 2-3 years till you're out of the military. Why do you want to get this teacher certification? When do you get a job after I'm done? But don't you have your bills paid off? Like, you don't have to work. You've saved really well. Why don't you just try something different or take some time off to reassess your life? After 20 plus years in the military, pump the brakes. You know you don't like doing what you're doing now. I know you don't like doing that. So try something different. I don't know what else to do. I only know I've been working since I was 14 years old. Well, I'm not saying don't work because I like working, but you might want to take some time off and not work because you need to figure out what you actually enjoy. And after a little bit of conversation, I was like, because I've been noticing over the last week or so since you started this, you're just assimilating into the Department of Education Borg. I mean, we have good conversations on the education system and the problems in it. And within 2-3 days of her starting this program, she's just spouting off all the talking points of why education's so great, especially the school districts and the government school system. It's like, this doesn't add up. You've been watching a lot of these educational videos on how to get certified as a teacher. They're telling you what to think. And because you've been in the military so long, you just latch on to these sorts of things of, this is the culture? Great, I am the culture. You are the Borg, ma'am. We had a conversation. She talked to another lady friend and said, yeah, you should definitely do that. That lady's another military retiree, actually. But, yeah, I guess we all kind of have a track together or something. Similar personality types, maybe. I don't know. Point being, said, yeah, you should really pump the brakes. You're looking for the next thing, the ladder to climb, the culture to be ingrained into, the organization to be a part of, and you're not giving yourself some time to be a little more flexible and see what it is you actually like doing. And after that, she was kind of bored, it seems, but she's so much less stressed. And she was just grinding. I have to get through this, so I can figure out my next step. Man, just pump the brakes a little bit. And so if you don't have kids, if you don't have a ton of responsibilities, do an internship. Like I did an internship for a realtor. Give them a call. Give a couple businesses a call that you really like what they're doing. I'm actually connecting a gentleman here in town, not military, with some folks that own a food truck, not military, and said he wants to open a food truck. I said, hey, you know what? You're not going to be biting off any of their business because they do barbecue and you want to do chicken sandwiches. So you guys are different enough. I bet they'd be willing to chat with you at least. If not, give you some time to learn in their truck. Give them some work. They'll give you some knowledge. But that's important. Take your foot in and decide, do I like this or do I hate it? And the example of my real estate internship, I realized I should never be a realtor. One, I offend people way too easily. Something about the way I speak, or we could be talking about the same thing, same topic, almost the same words. When those words come out of my mouth, a lot of people are offended. They come out of someone else's mouth, no big deal. It's the weirdest thing ever. I don't understand. Nobody's ever been able to articulate it beyond, well, it just seems offensive when you say it. Okay, none of us get that. But the important takeaway was, I should never be a realtor. Now, can I do a whole lot of other things? Property management? Maybe. Not necessarily interested in that. Also, you have to be a broker in the state of Texas. But again, important things I learned. Okay, this whole career path is just not a good fit for me. Maybe my wife, maybe my sister. She's more like me, though. But swinging a hammer, I do like that. That brings me joy and fulfillment because I'm creating something and I see what I did at the end of the day. I actually did something that mattered, not filling out a TPS report. If you don't get that, you need to look into some 90s movies. Office Space, I think it is. Office Space, not The Office. I always get those two mixed up. I don't like The Office, though. Anywho, figure out what it is you want to do and start working on it. And focus on identifying the ways you can make that thing realistic and just think it through. I'm talking weeks. I don't want to go into months here. I mean, you need to start doing it within weeks. But you don't have to do a ton. And something I was telling this young man I was talking to in a parking lot today. Hey, man, start making videos. Just make videos. Listen to Gary Vee, because this dude is an absolute freaking marketing genius. But, listen to Gary Vaynerchuk. Get on TikTok, which I hate. I won't get on China Talk, but I'm not that dedicated to it either. I'll leave that sit. Instagram, and he said Facebook Reels, and then YouTube Shorts. And so I need to look into the Facebook Reels, working on that one. But hey, man, if you don't have a ton of time, like when I was into podcasting seriously back in 2016-ish, 2015, there's about 3-4 years there where I was podcasting. There was a decent following, and I went through a divorce and life happened, and I kind of decided I'm done with this. But point being, been there, done that, and the way I was able to consistently do it was every single morning. I got up at 4 o'clock, and I did my podcast. I scheduled an hour to an hour and a half for every single day, doing that consistent action, and that was critical. That helped me so much, to the point I was getting a decent follower. But the reason you have to do it first thing in the morning, I don't care how dog crap tired you are, you got to do it every morning. Because when you get home from work, especially if it's that job you hate you detest. It sucks the life out of you. You ain't gonna have no energy when you get home. And so if you don't have any energy, I promise you, you will not put in the time and the work you need on whatever your side hustle is to make it into a reality that could potentially either subsidize your income or completely take it over, or just be something that brings you fulfillment. Like this for me, I'm not looking for an income off this podcast, video, whatever, but it does bring me fulfillment because I don't have a ton of viewers, but every once in a while someone will reach out, say, hey, I appreciate that piece of knowledge. Or I saw your video. They'll see me out in town. I really like that video, or that was interesting. I don't know what you did there, but it was one of those things like I didn't hate it, but you're a little weird. Give me a giggle. All right, good enough. Cool. I'm glad I brought you some sort of value. But those are the things I'm trying to tell the show management. You take small steps. And if you can't do, and you say, well, it normally takes me about 2 hours to stream the video and chop it up and make it good. And like, that's actually pretty quick. That's actually really quick. But point being, dude, schedule your stuff. And if you only have an hour or 30 minutes each day, then make the video one day. Then do the editing the next day. And then write all your schedules or put all your schedules together for the videos to go out the third day. And when you're still doing something every single day, it's like, that's a really good idea. And this just goes to, man, you got to get outside the box. This is why advice is so important, and just brainstorming with other people that have no connection to it. Because when you're inside your box, you have no idea what size it is, what it looks like, the texture. And point being, you can't see it because you're so deep in the mud. You need someone else to, oh, here's an obvious solution for you. No crap, I never thought of that. It's not obvious to you when you're deep down in it. And so when you're feeling like crap, don't beat yourself up, but focus on those small tasks you can accomplish to get to your long-term goal. Now, 2 books I'm going to strongly encourage everyone to check out. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and I'm going to have the link in the show notes, and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that's Stephen Covey. Both of them in the show notes. They're affiliate links, so if you decide to buy them, cool. If not, no big deal. But those books were really, really helpful to me. And one, not focusing so much on stupid crap I couldn't control, but focusing only on the things that I could. And even an influence, you spend a little time in that circle, or spheres, I guess they're called. But basically, that helped me turn off the news. Not that I don't care what happened to Trump or Joey B, but I don't care. It's like you, just like your own problems. Everyone has their own life, and you need to focus on that life. People focus so much on, get out the vote, you gotta, well, what happened to AOC said this, or Josh Hawley did that, or, dude, nobody cares. Nobody cares. You shouldn't care either. Focus on crap that affects your life. So your sphere of control is stuff you can directly control. That is pissing in the toilet versus all over the wall. You can control that. You should put a lot of effort into that because you don't want to scrub the wall. Now, your circle of influence, though, is getting your kids to turn off the lights because I don't like the electric bills being so high. Well, I can't directly control it because I'm not on top of them at all times, but I can very, very heavily influence that. And that's somewhere I'm gonna put a fair bit of time as well. Not all my time. I'll reserve probably 30% of my time for the circle of influence. And I can even be to politics. Since I'm an elected official, I'll save a little bit more time for that, but not a ton. A majority of my time, a good 60%, must be on my circle of control. Again, maybe 30% then for influence, and then you have about 10% left for just the sphere of crap around. I don't remember what that one's called, but control, influence, and awareness, or I don't remember what they call that one, but that's just stuff that's happened in the world. It's like controlling the weather. You can't do nothing about it, so it might be a good idea to check it out once in a while, but if you're spending more than about 15 minutes figuring out what's happening in the world, so that's way too much time. And I promise you, if something important happens, someone's going to tell you about it. Hey, did you hear Trump got his ear shot off? Nope, had no idea. I was actually brewing some beer when my wife told me that a couple Saturdays ago. Like, no, I didn't. Interesting. Huh. When did that happen? Oh, about 2 hours ago. Yeah, look at that. Someone told me almost immediately. It's stuff like that. I mean, just focus on the stuff that matters to you. And why am I brewing beer? Because it brings me happiness. It's so cool just seeing the flavors you can pull out of something you mix together. And this is cooking across the board. But alcohol specifically, beer and mead, I love doing this with because just the one is relatively quick and easy. It's a little bit complicated, but not so much that you have to, do any ton of studying. Just a little bit to understand how each step works, what's happening in each step, and then just try it. You'll eventually get better at it. I'm still not very good with the beer. I'm pretty good with the mead, but I focus on doing things that bring me joy, bring me fulfillment, and I do a little bit at a time. And so that's the first batch in 5 years. I've been renovating a house, but before that I was doing about one batch a quarter. It's only my fifth batch, so I did it for a year before. Did me a little bit longer, but just again taking steps, doing action with things that are improving my life. And so for me, that's just a little bit more fun. But I just want you to think about those things, and I want you to take those steps to do something, especially if you're feeling like crap. You don't have the motivation to do anything. There's another guy I knew from work. I mean, super smart guy, but just so depressed he couldn't get out of bed most days. I mean, he was taking so many days off of work. He was about to get in some serious trouble because he just so depressed because the job sucked, because there's nothing to do. Just you have to be here to do nothing. Sit here and scroll Reddit and watch YouTube, but you have to be here. And it messed him up. It's like, bro, you have to do something. Buy a freaking shelf from IKEA and assemble it. Do something. Brew some beer. Oh, you don't drink? Great. Well, let's get back to that IKEA shelf. Either way, find a thing to do, because taking some action is better than no action. It's definitely better than gaming and watching TV all day. And, nobody's going to do it for you. Things are only going to get worse, I promise you, if you fail to act. Don't talk about it, be about it. Regardless of how crappy your situation is, you're the only one capable of getting yourself out of that hole. Take small actions every day towards some goal, any goal, preferably your big goal. But, for instance, my big goal right now is going to cost about $750,000. So I'm doing other things that support that, like brewing beer, because I wanted to maybe have a brewery in it. But okay, I'm working on my skills of swinging a hammer, getting better with my woodworking, saving money, and working towards this next financial step. But also, whatever you do, don't beat yourself up if you're making a trade-off. And so, for instance, again, I need $750,000. I'm not taking some sales job that I'd be traveling 70 to 90% of the year, jumping on a plane within 2 hours because a prospect in New York or Germany said they're ready to make a sale. I can't do that. Though I could make a ton of money doing it, but I can't do that because my kids mean more to me. And so that's make the choice. Be okay with making the choice. I'm not going to be resentful toward my children because I could have done this if you weren't. Nope. I made the choice. I have to deal with all the consequences of that, and I'm okay with it. You have to be okay with it as well. So if it's that important to you to sit and play video games for 2 hours every night, that's fine. If you're not okay with it, you need to do some self-analysis, though. Why are you not okay with it? With that, folks, that's all I got. Check out the links to those books. I just can't encourage more reading both those books. How to Win Friends and Influence People was the most useful thing for me, being more approachable. So instead of walking around looking like an a-hole, which I kind of am an a-hole, but at least I'm an approachable a-hole now, learned a lot of those things from How to Win Friends and Influence People, and then how to just get my crap together and focus on those really important things. And kind of the project management stuff there was 7 Habits. And it's just excellent books, absolute life-changing. With that, folks, check me out over at thedisgruntleddad.com. Make it a good